Hello, everybody. Mike Gandolfo here, and I am excited to be here and just celebrate the new year. If you are in real estate, you need to know that right now we are celebrating 2026, that your 2026 has already started. Happy New Year. Anything pretty much that you generate the rest of this year, if you're generating new leads the rest of the year, then more than likely they're going to close in 2026. So your 2026 business plan has already started, and we are excited to help you formulate that business plan here today. That is what we're here to do. And I hope you guys find this extremely valuable. I know that if you're on YouTube and you type in a comment, I see Brian Phillips, the lender extraordinaire from Louisville, is ready to go. So if you type in the comment section on YouTube, we're able to kind of interact with you and be able to answer any questions that people may have as we get going. I also see TJ Jesse here. Hello, TJ. Glad you're here. And I'm not sure if that works on the LinkedIn. This is actually my first time ever streaming anything to LinkedIn to know if that works that way or not. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the presentation. First off, congrats again for investing the time to be here today. Only 35% of real estate agents, and I'm assuming that we're going to be very similar on the lending side if you're there, are actually working from a business plan, are creating a business plan and working from it. And most agents don't do it because it takes way too much time. They perceive it to be very complex, and they want to just keep their head down and focus on what's like right in front of them in the moment and focus on the immediate. Honestly, like it's one of those things that they're saying, well, how different can it be? I just got to put my head down and work. I got to grind. I got to just do the things that I know that work, and I don't necessarily need to direct that in any way. And so when they do that, they overlook any operational inefficiencies that drain productivity and actually, quite honestly, can go straight to burnout. Okay. So now the benefits of the people that take the time, the 35% of you that take the time to actually create and work from a business plan is immense. The structured planning is consistently associated with greater success, more consistency, and income stability, which of course would be things I think that we all want to have. So when we think about it this way, most agents are on demand. Their value is tied to their availability. They're answering every time the phone rings. They're 24/7. They are controlled by their business. We want you to be a professional agent that is in demand and controls the business, that directs the business to support the life that you want to have. And it is completely possible, and business planning is a big part of that. So right now, though, you might feel like you are stuck on a plateau, that no matter what you do, you can't seem to bust through, that you're struggling, that you're doing just good enough to get by. Maybe you feel busy but unproductive, right? That you feel like you're drained at the end of the day. You know that you're working hard, but the results just aren't there. And some of you are probably dealing with some self-doubt. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe that it's time to get out of the business altogether. All these things are legit feelings that I think a lot of agents are feeling right now. But the thing that separates you is that you are actually doing something about it by being here today to work on that business plan. And all of us, though, when you're in the real estate business, want to have a combination of these three things, right? You're in the business because you want the strong earning potential that it could have, right? We know that there's no ceiling to how much you can make in real estate. We also, of course, as Brian Buffini always says, there also is no floor. We know that there's freedom. That's one of the reasons why I got into the real estate business. And so I can make my own schedule, be my own boss, all the freedom that is there. But we know, like, all of us have to figure out at one way or another that it's really embracing the structure that unlocks the freedom that you truly desire. And another one that's extremely important to me is that you want to have a positive impact on others. If you've heard me speak before, you know that I am passionate about something we call change the algorithm, about changing the public perception of real estate agents and really kind of focusing on the problems that we solve and having that positive impact on the clients that we serve and the agents that we work with. So here's what we are going to cover today. Okay, we're going to cover the annual targets. We're going to set annual targets. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than some of the goal setting that some of you have done in the past. We're going to talk about your marketing strategy. We're going to go over something called your business standards. This is something that I've always had in my business plan workbook, but I'm taking a little bit of a different approach to it today. And then finally, we're going to end up with a systems check. And I also want to remind you that at the end of this video, there'll be a QR code where you're going to be able to get access to the slides. You're going to be able to get access to the business plan workbook where you can start working through some of these things yourself, plus some other great resources there as well. So all of that stuff will be there for people to utilize and tap into so that they can make this plan, they can put it into action. Okay, so let's start with those annual targets. I'm going to be very careful here and not call this a goal. I do think that an important part of business planning is having that set of goals, having long-range goals that we talked about it earlier. Do you have a vision for that ideal life that you want to create? Do you know what you're working towards, right? I always love the video of Andy Dufresne in the Shawshank Redemption talking about Zihuatanejo for that very reason, because it's the best vision example I think there is in cinema. I love it. It's fantastic. The annual targets kind of serve as that mid-range. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do this year. But what is different about this is that I want you to really focus on these areas, because as we look at, what numbers need to improve in our businesses, I think these are 6 great areas for you to know if you're on track to hit your goals, that these 6 numbers are really important for you to just be aware of what you're doing. And I know that this is kind of real estate agent driven, and if you're a lender or in something else, I'm sure that you can modify this in some way. So it might not be number of buyer closings. Well, you would do number of buyer closings, but maybe instead of number of seller closings, you're looking at refinances or HELOCs or whatever else that you want to put in there as one of the things for your business as well. So historically, having an idea of how many buyer closings do you normally do in a year? How many seller closings do you normally do in a year? Having a good idea of what that ratio of the two is really important. Maybe you're 60% buyer and 40% seller. But we do know this. I think that as the business continues to evolve, we know that listing agents are the ones who control the business. And if you want to have a strong business, if you want to have a business that works for you even when you're not working, putting your billboard in someone else's yard that can generate leads, that has great marketing for you out there at all times, is it's way more time effective than working with buyers. So if you might find yourself when you say, hey, historically I'm 60% buyers and 40% sellers, and give yourself a number. I end up working with 10 buyers and I end up working with 7 sellers or whatever it might be. Maybe you want to flip that ratio, right? So this is a good way for you to look at that target and see how you can actually flip that ratio so that you can be more productive. You're going to want to know, what is your average sales price, okay? One of the easiest ways to give yourself a raise is just to increase your average sales price and be intentional about the marketing so that you do raise your average sales price. It is possible. You're going to want to know what your average commission rate is. Now, of course, we're not talking about setting commission rates on this call whatsoever. We all charge probably something different, but can you articulate that value? When someone asks you, hey, what do you charge? What is your rate? Do you just say, hey, I'll do it for this? Or do you say, hey, I'd like to have that conversation, but I want you to know why I charge what I charge? And can you actually articulate that value? And maybe you can articulate a value that actually helps you elevate it so that you can raise your commission rate. The one thing that I have found since the changes that were made last year is that people will pay us, but they just want us to be able to demonstrate our value, that what we're being paid is justified. And if you believe it's justified and you can make a case for it, how you articulate that value is extremely important. The last 2 are kind of like, you got to track your data. You got to kind of know what's going on. How many contacts does it take for you to get to a lead? And then how many leads does it take to actually close a deal? So that you can say, hey, all right now it takes me 50 contacts to get 1 lead, and I've got to have 5 leads to close 1 deal. So 250 contacts equals 1 deal. And now, well, how can I make that better? How can I get my contact to lead ratio down to 25, or my lead to close ratio to 3 or 4, and see that you could actually make your marketing work for you a whole lot more effective. So those are the ways that you kind of trigger and these targets that you track. But at the end of the day, we want you to get down to these three numbers. These three numbers are the ones that you're going to be focusing on. What is your income goal? And I specifically just left at income. Some of you like to track your gross commission income, which I think is a mistake. I think you want to focus on your net. Your net income is what really matters. What's your closing goal? How many closings do you want to have in 2026? But it all boils down, and what we train our agents on is to be focused on what is their weekly, so we say referral number. What is your weekly lead goal? How many leads do you have to generate in a week so that you can then know that you are on track to have the business that you want to have that creates the life that you want, right? So if you can boil it all the way down and say, okay, for me, I have one agent right now. She's all in. She knows she has to get 2 referrals a week. And she knows that she wins the week if she has 2 referrals that week, right? So that's her focus. How do I get the 2 referrals this week? Where are those 2 referrals this week? Nothing else matters for winning the week versus can I get those 2 referrals in the week? All right, so that is all we're going to talk about when it comes to those annual targets. We're going to move on right now to the marketing strategy. And in real estate, I think we need to really kind of start to focus on broadening our horizons. I know there's a lot of people watching this that are kind of working by referral snobs. I know that there's a lot of people on this video that are probably buying internet leads. They're doing all of these things. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to really making sure that you have 3 solid strategies that work together, that feed each other, that you know can help you create the business you want. One of the biggest mistakes I think I see is that agents try to do too much. So they don't do any of it well, and they definitely don't systemize any of it so that it can benefit you and maximize your value. The number one strategy that we're always going to focus on in our office is the relational strategy. Beyond that, we're going to go into these briefly about each one of those. Brian is asking already, how does tracking help? And he's just kind of being a little bit of a smart aleck, I think. But yes, tracking definitely helps because you can't measure what you don't improve. So there's Brian trying to tee me up. We know that the attract marketing strategy, and we'll get into what that is. To me, when you get a referral from a past client or from a friend or family member, the first thing that person's going to do, they say, hey, you need to go work with Terry Hunter in San Diego because Terry Hunter is amazing. The first thing that person is going to do is like, oh, I don't know Terry Hunter. And they're going to look on social media. They're going to look and see what they can find about Terry Hunter, and everything that we put out there on the websites and on the profiles and Google reviews have got to affirm the referral we just got, but it can also help you be a great lead generation as well. And then finally, we got to go out there and hunt a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about what those hunt strategies kind of look like. All right, we're going to move on here to the next slide, get into this relational marketing piece. Again, I know a lot of people on this call are masters at working by referral, and that relational marketing strategy is really important. And I have found that you basically have 2 components to your relational marketing strategy. You're going to have a mass marketing to your database, the mailers, the newsletters, the emails and texts. Our office just in Louisville just started using a company called Lolo, which helps local businesses supporting other local businesses. There's all kinds, Prosecco to Post. There's all kinds of these things out there of how you provide actual value to your past clients, to the people in your database to kind of help keep you at top of mind. And the key word there, though, is it's got to be something of value, right? We know that whatever you send out cannot be junk mail. It's got to be something that people receive and are interested in, and actually don't ever view it as junk mail. It's super important for that to occur. And so, maybe you're given a regular home evaluation or whatever that might be, of property value evaluation, but some sort of way where you have 2 to 3 automatic things that happen on a monthly basis that touch your database. And they need to be from different mediums, right? I might get them through text message and through snail mail and through an email. whatever it might be, but just make sure that it's not all generated through the same kind of medium. It's not 3 postcards that happen. We don't necessarily want that to occur. We want to make sure that they're seeing stuff from you coming from different angles. And again, value, because we know that 91% of agents do not follow up with their clients after closing. And of the 9% that do, the large majority of that are sending out very generic recipe cards or things like that. Things that honestly someone is like, if I want to know how to make something right now, I'm going to my AI large language model, and I'm saying, hey, I want to make this. How do I make this? And that's how I'm doing. I'm not keeping that recipe card to make sure I know how to make whatever recipe is on that card. I need to give something that's got a little bit more depth to what I'm trying to do. The personal touches, though, so we've got the mass marketing that happens automatically, 2 to 3 touches to your database. The personal touches are where the secret sauce actually happens, right? We know that these are the conversations, the personal notes, the client gifts, the coffees and meals, the things where you have to invest your time, energy, and money into a single person to deepen and develop that relationship, and how important that can be. Now, I'm putting all these things out there just to give you some examples. I'm sure that many of you have several different ways that you do this, but the key is to figure out which ones you want to do and how often, so that you can systemize them, and then you can hold yourself to a certain standard. The attract marketing strategy, like I said before, this is where every single thing that you do on the referral side has got to be validated. So this is a great time for you to look at your social media. Is your social media all business? Is it all personal? Because it should be a combination of both. Go and check out your profiles on the major real estate websites and on Google to make sure that they are that they don't need to be cleaned up a little bit. Look at those reviews that you have, and what is your strategy for generating more reviews? Because those Google reviews are going to be huge in helping you continue to come up in searches, and searches are getting ready to change. We know that someone might not be going to Google to search for something. They might be going to Gemini or to ChatGPT or to Perplexity or whatever that might be to try to do their searches. So the more you can put out there with pictures and more things that are out there that are authentic, and more video that you have where they see your face, that stuff is going to make a big difference. What are you doing with your website? Do you have a blog? All of these things are part of your attract marketing strategy. And by no means am I saying that you need to do all of these things, because I don't think that's true. But you need to do a couple of them very well. And you need to make sure that those couple that you do very well are where you need to be. And I love to tell the story about, there's 2 real estate influencers out there that have millions and millions of followers. And I'm sure that many of you have seen these already. Their whole strategy is built around this, around these social media strategies, and millions of followers. And then when I looked up their production, between the 2 of them over the last year, they had sold 1 house. Now, their job is no longer being a realtor. They are a real estate agent who is a social media influencer who provides entertainment. I don't want you to be an influencer. I want you to think past that and go deeper. And how do you become a person of influence? And how do you use these tools to be a person of influence? Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, in which is your hunt strategy. What are you doing with the more traditional lead generation activities to help supplement your work? So try adopting some of these activities. Are you doing an open house strategy? Open houses and sign calls, because someone does not have to sign a buyer agency agreement, those strategies to me are going to have massive returns, that they're going to be worth it for you to be able to sit in an open house knowing that someone does not have to sign that buyer agency agreement to go through the open house, and you're going to be able to pick up people before they sign buyer agency agreements. Geo farming, so farming a neighborhood. Working web leads. Are you working for sale by owners? Are you working expired listings? Are you working in a certain niche, right? Are you working with divorce attorneys, probate attorneys, elder care, first-time home buyers, anything like that, to help supplement your referral business? How are you fighting for the rest of the business, and not just solely relying on the repeat and referral business. We know that repeat and referral business is going to be a large chunk of what we do. And it needs to be the majority of the time that we put into our marketing strategy. But this other one, if we can have something else that just has a little bit of attention that we need to put to it on, and it's very systemized, and I can just execute it kind of in the background, just to kind of have another steady flow of leads coming in. Okay. So that is all I have for you guys on the marketing strategies. And we're going to move on now to what I'm calling the business standard. So I want to be very clear on why I think the business standard is so important, and really where it's playing a role for us. So when I look at this business standard, I'm looking at it as a 4-piece puzzle. It has your professional identity, and if you don't know what that is, the workbook that we're giving you walks you through how to kind of come up with that professional identity, step by step by step. It's got your business boundaries, because again, I want you to think about being in demand and not on demand. If you are 24/7, if you are always on, then you're never at your best. And no one expects for you to be 24/7. You've got to be able to articulate your business boundaries, how you work, where you work, who you work with, and be able to make the most out of structuring your business so it supports the life that you want and doesn't control your life. And those business boundaries are extremely important. What are those non-negotiable activities? And this is where I really want to focus, because and we're going to talk about here, are you the employee of the month for your company? Are you the employee of the month? What are those things that you've got to do as a baseline, that once you have those annual targets kind of spelled out of what you want to do, that those non-negotiable activities are going to be the things that are going to get you there. So then, because I think most of you guys know that there's that I like to work in 12-week cycles, you can focus the 12-week cycle on having some sort of elevated experience where it's either meeting an immediate need in that 12-week cycle, or you have a massive opportunity that you can take advantage of in that 12-week cycle. But the non-negotiable activities never go away. And then finally, what is your financial system? How are you managing your money? And I think for a lot of us, that system has kind of gotten front and center over the last couple of years, as leads, as closings just haven't been as frequent as they were beforehand, right? We've seen a massive reduction in Louisville alone. In my MLS, we went from 19,000, almost 20,000 home sales down to 14,000 home sales. So, I mean, that's a dramatic decrease in the market. But if you have the right financial systems, it's going to help you overcome those times so that when things start to slow down a little bit, you are in good shape. Okay, so we're going to go through these real quick. The professional identity, your purpose, your vision, your mission, your values, and your strategy are what we're going to. And again, I'm not going to dive too much into these things right now, because in the workbook, it's going to talk you through how to articulate what these things are for you. The business boundaries. When does my workday begin? When does it end? And I think that I used to talk about this with agents who, in the sense of like, hey, you're going to start to work whenever, because you just want to have a closing so bad. You just want to have somebody who's working with you so bad. So you're not going to put in these boundaries, and then you're going to be answering emails and phone calls or text messages at 11:30 at night and telling your client basically that that's what you do, that you work at 11:30 at night. And a good friend of mine always says, Karen Dully in Cincinnati, always talks about, like, you can text me and call me and email me at any time you want, but just know that I'm not going to return your messages, and except between, like, whatever boundary you put there, 8 and 8 the next day. But making sure that you have a very clear boundary, but the boundary should also include not only when do you stop working, but when are you actually working? Because another mistake that agents make is they have their workday defined, but then they let just little bitty chores and other things kind of creep into their day, so that they're actually, in their underwear at 1:00 doing the dishes and doing the laundry and answering emails, and think that they're working, but they're not. Like, it needs to be clearly defined when your workday is on and when it's not. And if you have to schedule some of those chores in, if you have a doctor's appointment, or if you got to go pick up the laundry, just add it to your calendar and be intentional about it. We're in this business for the freedom of the calendar, but it's got to be kind of structured so that it doesn't consume your day, and then you don't do the important stuff for real estate. How will I dress for work? How's my workday structured? What clients will I not work with? All those things I think are extremely important when you kind of start to think about your business boundaries. And that's just to wet the whistle. You might have other things that are very important to you as well when it comes to setting those boundaries throughout your workday. So let's get into these non-negotiable activities. I want you, and the workbook will help guide you through this a little bit, but if you were to hire someone to replace you, what are the 5 tasks that you would say make up their job description? What are the 5 things that you would want to be executed on a regular basis that would determine whether or not this person was a good hire for you or a good fire or someone you need to fire? And I'm going to ask you, should you be fired or would you be the employee of the month? When you really think about it, if you came down to 5 things that if I had to hire someone to replace what you need to do to be successful, and to the 5 things that have got to be done on a consistent basis, and you look at how well you do those 5 things, would you fire yourself or would you be the employee of the month? When we have our employees, we talk to our employees about, hey, you're an investment. Right? I'm paying you to get a return on that investment. And for some of my employees, I have someone who's trying to free up things so that I have more time to go do these things. And some of my employees, though, need to be not freeing up time, but they need to be driving income. And having that clarity is really important. And it starts with you. You are in business. Even if you are not a broker and you have your license hung with someone else, you are a business owner, and the job description is this. Now, are you meeting your job description or are you not? And these business standards, these non-negotiable activities, if you've set your vision of where you want to go, if you've got those annual targets, and these activities are going to get you to your target, they don't really change. They are the baseline for what has to happen in your business on a regular basis throughout the entire year. So, don't see any questions popping up on the chat, but if you have questions about any of this stuff, again, you can drop a comment into YouTube and we'll answer. We are getting comments from LinkedIn as well. So either YouTube or LinkedIn, drop those comments in if you have any questions about what we've talked about so far. Okay, the financial system is the last piece here that I am going to talk about. And again, I'm not going to cover too much, but I think it does come down to, have you read the book Profit First? And I love the book Profit First by Mike Gandolfo. We all know that an agent comes in, they have a gross commission income that comes into their business. Their broker is going to take some fees. Maybe you have some referral fees, and whatever's left out after you subtract the broker fees and the referral fees, that is your real revenue. So when we talked earlier about having an income goal, you could have a GCI goal, you could have a real revenue goal, or your net income or your take-home pay could be what your goal is. Profit First tells you that you're going to take the real revenue and then you're going to have that check come in and you're going to distribute it by percentage into some separate accounts. And I will tell you right now that I did this early on in my real estate career, and it might have saved my marriage before Christy became a realtor. We had closings come in. I got closings ahead. We had closings come in. We had so much that went to the tax account so that April 15th wasn't a surprise every year. And then I had a certain amount of my paycheck that was an automatic withdrawal to our personal account every 2 weeks, right? And so that's how we did it. I didn't have a profit account. The profit account's super important because we're in business to make a profit, and it's okay to make a profit. And it's different than your take-home pay. And that's a really important part. Your take-home pay is almost somewhat of an expense. The reason why we separate it out, though, is because you're going to have your take-home pay and you have your operating expenses to run your business, and understanding where that you still have got to get paid to have money to take home, but you also have to have money to operate the business. But the reality of it is that whatever money is in that operating expense account, it almost acts like a tube of toothpaste. This is how Mike Gandolfo actually explains it. If you've ever heard him talk about it, you can squeeze that toothpaste to make it work as much as possible, either at home or in your operating expenses. Meanwhile, though, you're still putting away a little bit for profit, and you still are putting away some for taxes. And that profit and tax account shouldn't be very accessible, right? You're operating your business out of your OPEX account. You're operating your home out of your personal account. And then you still have these profit and tax accounts that are there maybe for a rainy day or maybe for that trip to Italy, whatever it might be. Notice how I put that trip to Italy in there because I know my wife is watching, and we're going to Italy in 2026. It's going to happen. Okay. Now, let's get into the systems check. And I just want you to kind of go through and evaluate your systems. And here's just a smidge of them. And think about it from a systems standpoint. If you look at your lead generation / your marketing system, is it optimized, right? Is it optimized? Are you trying? It's not optimized, by the way, if you are putting way too much time into it and it's not just set up where it can just kind of roll, or you know exactly what's got to happen, or you could actually have an employee do it. You know, if you're spending a large amount of time doing the same task every month, it's probably not optimized. Is it sufficient? So the plus is for optimized, the check mark is for sufficient. The minus sign is it needs attention, and then the blank would be that you don't have that at all. But hopefully everyone here has a marketing strategy or a marketing system, a personal / professional development system, because you know that's going to be directly correlated to how much income you make is how much you work on yourself and build yourself up. The buyer and seller standard operating procedures, the administrative tasks. Do you have a system for that so that it just doesn't bog you? Or, I mean, if you're just majoring in the minors, small little activities, and you're not getting the big stuff done because you're doing all this administrative stuff, that's a big problem. And then what about technology? How are you using AI? You know, what are the other technology pieces that are important to your business? And then it doesn't change. You still don't need to have any technology beyond having access to the internet and a pen and a cell phone. Everything else that you add on should make you more efficient, right? So, but I do encourage you, if you have not looked at the AI side of things yet, just to start playing with one of the AI models and get used to how it works, because at some point you are going to need to be pretty proficient in working in AI. The last piece, though, there's one system that's missing. Okay, we've defined our targets, we've defined our marketing plan, we've got business standards in place, I've got a financial plan to deal with my money. I just did my systems check. So why will most of these plans still fail in February? And the reason why is it does not matter how well you plan. It all comes down to how well you execute the plan. Lots of you will do a business plan every year and put it on a shelf and never look at it again. Many of you are great at the planning part, but you're not great at executing on that plan. Many of you are poor planners, but you just put your head down and you go, and you're great at the execution piece, but it's not directed. And by the time you look up, you've drifted off path so far that it's going to take you a long time to get back on track to where you want to actually go. Very few of you are actually good at both. And so that's where we want to help. We want to help with your execution system. Annual goals are ineffective. The time period is just way too long. If if you notice when we talked about those annual targets, I broke it all the way down to what is that lead number for the week? What is my weekly referral number, as we talked about in our office? Because I can focus on that 2 referrals a week. I'm probably not focusing on the 27, 28 deals or the 150,000 income number, whatever I might have it at. I'm focusing because those numbers are so far away. There's no urgency, right? The problem with annual thinking is that the number's too far away, which means that we can procrastinate. We can take our eye off the ball. We don't necessarily just focus in there. Now, I think we have to have the annual targets. We have to have those for sure, but we need to break them down into these execution cycles. And these short cycle goals, use your business standards as a baseline. Those business standards are going to happen. I called them tasks for a reason, right? The tactics to achieve your 12-week goal or your 8-week goal or your 10-week goal, whatever your short cycle goal is, that tactic is going to be elevated. The tasks that happen for you to be on track to keep the baseline is right here. And then at the bottom is that to-do list stuff that everyone else puts on your plate. But when we can separate out the tactics and then have the tactics to hit my goal, the tasks that I know that need to be done on a daily basis for me to be on track to hit my targets. And then down here are those to-dos, but I know those tactics and tasks have got to be done first. The short cycle goals are going to be, as your business standards are just going to keep, or like the treadmill that's going, it's almost like your short cycle goals are you changing the elevation. The it's hyper focused on the big opportunities or the big issues in your business. And the best part about it is that it's adaptable, right? So we can make adjustments based off what's going on in the market, or if we're behind, or if we need to catch up or not, because it gives us these little milestones for us to check in and kind of know where we are. The adaptability of it is huge. I mean, everyone here has probably heard me talk about in 2020 setting up annual goals and then realizing in April of 2020 that those goals were no good anymore and we could just scrap the whole business plan because we had COVID come in. Or in 2022, we had at the end of the second quarter, we literally went to Italy and interest rates were like in the 3s, and we came back and they were in the 5s after a 2-week trip to Italy. And the whole landscape changes. And the funny thing is that the landscape can change. And if you're working from 12-week, 10-week, 8-week execution cycles, you can adjust your strategy and still be on track to hit your goals. And I'm reminded of this because this just happened. I just got done working with with a lender and a realtor, and we went through this whole program, took them through an execution cycle. We stripped away all of those things and we focused on what was important, and they saw massive growth in their business. The lender literally doubled her business in the 12 weeks. So we know that this works. We know we can strip it all away and that we can make it happen. So as we wrap up today, and if there's no questions, I got this done in 40 minutes, which is fantastic. I just want you to know that prosperity isn't luck. It's all about execution. And I got the QR code, and if you can't get it because you're watching this on your phone, I'm going to upload this to the Facebook group. It's still going to be on YouTube. It's still going to be accessible probably on LinkedIn as well. Most of you all know how to get a hold of me if you want to get this presentation, if you've got to get this link so that you can get the QR code. But when you go scan the QR code, by the way, I'm not asking for your email address or anything like that. It's all just going to be real easy for you to just download. We're not collecting any information. You're going to have the slides and the recording there for you to watch. And you're going to be able to download and get the workbook so that you can go through and start planning stuff out. I'm always happy to be a resource. If you have a question while you're going through the workbook, please let me know. And then you're going to have an application, because we're going to do another session of what I just got done with that lender and that realtor of called execution excellence. And what I have discovered is that I need to be a little more selective who actually goes through these execution excellence programs. I can't just, I want to help everybody, but I need to make sure that people are properly committed to actually wanting to do the work to do this. And if they are committed to do the work, they're going to blow by the results and the goals that they put out there for them. And the two people that came to me by referral, and the way that this whole thing kind of came about was, quite honestly, they were in a tough spot, man, but they were motivated. And they went for it, and they like I said, saw massive results. We'll have a promo code in there called for prosperity. If it's something that you do want to apply, the applications are gonna the application for you all is actually live now, but I'm going to send out the applications for everyone else starting tomorrow. And the application link is on the same page. When you scan that QR code, you're gonna be able to get there and apply. But if you're serious about it, like, we know that 70% of your leads that are going to close in 2026 are going to be in your pipeline by the end of March. That not only the first execution cycle, but what you're doing right now, what are you doing the 8 weeks before Christmas? and what are you going to do in that first execution cycle of 2026 are going to set the tone for what the business that you're going to have for the remainder of the year. And I'm committed to doing it with you if I can meet your commitment level. And I'm really excited about kind of doing this and helping people out. Okay, if we don't have any questions, I'll hold on here for just a little bit to see if we got anything that pops up. I know people are still typing. I really appreciate everybody's time today. I do believe that all of you all can win in 2026. Scott Hack says, thanks, Mike. Scott, I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, this is we're setting ourselves up. We're going to have in 2026, the real opportunity is this. We're going to have some people that say that this is too hard and it's not for me. And we're going to have some people that meet the challenge head on and are going to see massive returns. We are going to separate the pros from the pretenders very quickly in 2026. And I just want to make sure that you guys are all ready to take advantage of this, the massive opportunity that's coming your way in 2026. You guys have Greg, great to see you. Love seeing you do as well, bud. And you know, get to work on it. Let me know if you have any questions about the work on the workbook, and we'll go after it. And my daughter, yay, boundaries. So, by the way, this kid's killing it. All right, 21 years old, and she is out there just killing it and getting it done. Just got something under contract this last week, and just really excited for everything she's doing. All right, guys, talk to you all later.